Hey, Curtis, what are we watching this week?
Hey guys, this week we're watching a cross between Splash, A Kid in King Arthur's Court, Time Cop, and A Knight's Tale. This movie is called The Night Before Christmas.
Hey, listeners, welcome back to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a central theme for the month and take turns bringing a movie back and forth to said theme. This month's theme, which we're coming to a close on, is Hallmark-esque Christmas movies. We're in week 4, and like Curtis said, we'll be watching The Night Before Christmas. I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
And I'm Curtis.
And let's get this thing started. All right, well, let's get into our cast of characters. I actually, as opposed to last week, I listed 3 cast members in this one. There's more, but I feel that there's 3 pretty central cast members here. We have Brooke, our lead, played by Vanessa Hudgens. She's a modern-day teacher in Ohio, single, looking for love.
And then we also have Sir Cole, who is quite...
Circle.
Sir Cole. And by the way, I have Sir in all caps. Every mention.
Well, it's
Sir Cole.
Well, because we're not close enough with him, we don't have the benefit of not calling him Sir. He's earned that knighthood.
You got to earn that. Yep.
He's earned that knighthood.
We have Sir Cole, who's literally a 14th century British knight.
That's right.
The knight, not the shoe.
Right, and it's true. He's not a BK.
No, he's not BK.
He's also the winner. He also seems to be the winner of the 2019 Netflix Community Theater Outreach Award.
oh yeah, you could tell that he got his chops at the local community theater.
Yes, playing a knight because he's really good at it. And the third character I've got listed is Madison, which is Brooke's sister, kind of emotional support. You know, she's a good sister. I mean, that's one thing that we've commented before. This has been very consistent. There's really good family dynamics in these Netflix movies, or these Hallmark-esque movies. So, you know, really touching. There are others. We've got a cop. We've got old crone. You know, we've got
we've got a brother to the knight.
Yeah, we've got a daughter to Madison. They're there for plot movement and to fill it out. But really, these are our main 2, with Madison being there quite often, really. She's enough, I think. She's in there enough to be mentioned. But yeah, that's it. We've got 2 love interests, and one thing that I'm curious to see is all these movies play up on getting our lead characters together so they can fall in love during Christmas week, and this one really is no different. But how are we going to establish, Curtis, getting our love interests from 800 years apart?
When we were evaluating which movies to go through, this was one of my picks. And as soon as I read the premise, it's like, we're going with it.
Yeah, we got it. No, it was fun.
How are we going to get from point A to point B? They're literally lost in time. This isn't like, you know, he lives a county over or something like that.
Right.
He's 800 years in the past.
Right. So far this month we've seen our love interests be an hour apart, a few countries apart, but they're on assignment, which made sense. And then last week they literally have been best friends for years. This is Hallmark-esque movies' biggest challenge yet. How do you get them from centuries away, countries away, to be in the same place the same week to fall in love?
I wasn't expecting a sci-fi twist in Hallmark-esque holiday movies. Not the genre I was expecting them to tiptoe into.
Complete with smoke machines set on ground.
So yeah, despite the fact that they got that Netflix money, they still cut a couple of corners.
Yeah, we're gonna be you're gonna circle. Make sure you kneel down because the smoke can only envelope you if you're only within a few feet from it.
So kicking the movie off, I immediately noticed, Oz, that this movie is rated TV-14. All of the other Hallmark-esque holiday movies we've done were I think were PG.
Yeah,
either G or PG.
They were G. They were G. Yes. Intended for all audiences.
Yes, and this one was TV-14. Ooh, scandalous.
Well, they say douche a couple times.
I know.
That's probably the one.
So this is a classic fish out of water story, with the fish in this case being a knight. This movie was recorded in
Being
2019.
a historic fish.
Yes.
It's a fossil.
They had to scale it back with the fish.
I see what you did there.
Oh, we just lost our viewers.
That's okay.
So we open on a snow-covered castle in Norwich, England in the year 1334.
Yep.
1334, and two hunky knights are talking.
Yeah, the brothers.
Yes, they are brothers. We have Sir Cole and Sir Geoffrey.
I figured it'd be circumference.
Yeah.
They're brothers.
These guys are they're proud of their knighthood, I guess.
Geoffrey's take upcoming knighthood.
Yes, he's about to officially become a knight. They're wearing armor that I don't think has ever been worn before.
No.
There's no battle scars.
No. They just go hunting in Norwich. That's all they do. Divide and conquer. It's like we're in a big game of medieval capture the flag right at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, and with the flag being a hawk, so that they let a hawk loose. Yep. And then they're like, "All right, who can bring the hawk back?" And whatever. Right. It's a reason to get things rolling.
I didn't even realize that's what they were doing. I saw them release the hawk and you knew the hawk because it gave the can as it flew away. So
that's every hawk I've ever heard makes that sound.
It's like a Wilhelm scream of hawks.
Then we cut to the title card, A Night Before Christmas. And in case you have not noticed, night is spelled with the letter K.
A very cheap title card, as is consistent with all this stale movie. There's no like opening credit scene where we get a cold open and then cut to a really cool animated title and maybe you get character and actor names. No, this is just wing, something from iMovie they plaster up on the screen.
Somebody whipped up on their Mac.
Yeah.
And after that establishing, we're now in Ohio, 2019, in a school. And the teacher, Miss Winters, Brooke, played by the lovely Vanessa Hudgens of High School Musical fame.
Of High School Musical fame.
Mm-hmm. As confronting a student on her poor test performance.
Yeah.
Student says, my boyfriend just broke up with me. Oz, you're a classroom teacher.
I am.
How would you have handled this situation?
I probably would have done what Brooke did and sat down and have a nice heart-to-heart with a teenager about their love life, because that's appropriate. Yep. No, they definitely bucked the trend from last movie where we saw the boyfriend think with his heart and with his head. Like in this movie, it's not possible. So this poor girl, teenage girl, my boyfriend broke up with me, and Brooke's like, well, okay, I get it, because you're in love, and love is messed with your ability to think logically about social studies, or whatever. I don't even know what Brooke teaches. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it was a little cringy. We see it show up again later. It actually shows up in my 3, 2, 1s as to like.
Yeah, but it opens with her consoling a student about her love life, which, I also work in education, and there are professional boundaries that ones have to establish.
A little side hug, especially female teacher to female student.
Yeah.
A side hug, I'm like, we've all been there, you'll bounce back. Something like that is fine, some motivational tool to get a kid through this. But yeah, it's not a time to sit down and like, let's pontificate about said love life, because Brooke, as we find out, doesn't have one. So it's important that she can live vicariously through her students' love lives.
Yes. Ugh. But Brooke does, as she's consoling the student before we move on to the next scene, she does say, we all grew up fantasizing about being a princess, finding true love with a knight in shining armor, but it's just fantasy.
Yeah, I have that here. She admits that she has a lifelong dream of falling in love with a knight in shining armor. Is this foreshadowing?
No, none whatsoever. They literally just call out the rest of the movie right there.
Right. Yeah, this Tarantino did not direct this, so yeah, these two main leads will find themselves together quickly. This isn't a Pulp Fiction-esque. We've got multiple forks or tines of a fork story-wise, that we're following these characters through. No, they're gonna. There's some it's not even foreshadowing. It's just
Yeah.
laid right out there.
So as Brooke's leaving the school, she's leaving work. She gets a call from her sister, who's like, "Hey, can you take my daughter, so Brooke's niece, to the Christmas castle?"
Yeah, got to go to which I'm glad they have a castle in Ohio.
Yeah,
it makes sense for what we're about to see.
A lot of castles in Ohio.
Yes.
Yep. I had a note here that Madison's sister is played by the female lead actress from Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Yes, Brooke's sister. Yeah, I know. I've never seen that movie, but I recognized her from things, and and that's what it was. I was like, I've seen her before. When I looked it up, I realized that she's 13 years older than Vanessa Hudgens, so the age gap of said sisters is not important. But I was like, I've seen her, and so, but yeah. I think it was probably the ads from Don't Mess with the Zohan. I haven't taken the time out of my busy life to watch that one yet.
Oh, you were definitely missing out, my friend.
Next week on Let's Talk About Flicks, we're covering Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Racist Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah. So take your pick, folks.
Yeah, there's a long list there.
Right.
All right. So we're back in old England, in oldie England. And Sir Cole is in the woods looking for the hawk. And who does Sir Cole run across in the woods, Oz?
Old crone. She comes out behind a tree with her complete in her 2019 makeover. Her hair looks great. Her makeup looks great. But she's just this old crone. I hate calling her that, but that's what they call her in the movie.
That's her listed name.
Right. Yeah,
she's old crone.
She's a beautiful witch, if that's what she supposedly is. But she just plays hide and seek behind a tree in the woods until a knight's looking for her, I guess. There's no shack. There's no, like, cave. There's just, she's over there behind the oak.
Yep. So she offers him a quest, because a quest is something apparently that knights long for.
Yeah, he's been a knight for 3 years now, and he hasn't been on a quest yet. Just hawk hunting.
No. So she hands him this blue glowing orb, I guess.
It's an amulet.
Sure, amulet, okay.
Yeah.
And says that if he fails to fulfill his quest before midnight Christmas Eve, he'll never become a true knight.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and his quest is in far-off lands.
Yes.
To which...
And then that she disappears, then he disappears.
Yeah. Old crone.
Yep. So we're less than 8 minutes into the movie, and Sir Cole is now in the future.
Yeah. The only thing missing from this was whoosh. We didn't have a whoosh.
No. Despite the Netflix money, they shot this film, part of it in Ireland. Some of the effects in this movie were less than desirable.
Yes, yeah. And they shot the Ohio scenes in Canada.
I think Canada. Yeah, in Canada. So.
And actually, what was the name of the town that this was set in Ohio? It was like Brooksbridge or something like that, right? I don't even
Anyway,
remember. I was reading in the IMDb trivia. That's the name of the Canadian town. They left the name of the town so they wouldn't have to change any of the storefronts or anything that you saw. It's smart.
Well, they pumped that extra money into the fog machines,
right? And the actual snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, okay. But yeah, they filmed, like, they used the hospital to film the hospital scenes. And like, well, whatever.
So Sir Cole materializes in the modern day. He appears before a carousel with horses. So, I mean, he's, I guess, around something that's familiar to him.
I'm home.
And old crone is there, but she's disguised as Mrs. Claus
right.
at this event. So she's there. She's omnipresent.
Yeah, yep.
That old crone.
Yeah, she's everywhere. She's the Watcher in the NCU.
She is. Her and Jeffrey Wright have so many things in common.
Yep. Interchangeable.
Yep. Get them mixed up all the time. So Brooke and her niece also just happen to be at the Christmas castle, which is where Sir Cole materialized, and they're going to see Santa.
This is such an odd scene.
Yeah. Old crone notices them. Brooke says hi to some guy named David.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they called out this person means he's going to come back.
I should have listed David in the act. Well.
Dave, yeah, that's another kind of cringy thing that's going to come up later.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah,
so uncomfortable.
We'll definitely come back to David and his story, but Brooke sees her ex James, and her niece calls her on it, and blah blah blah. Claire is the niece's name. Claire. She asked Santa for a puppy and a new boyfriend for Aunt Brooke.
I know. This is so dumb. Oh, it's
She
Santa.
says someone who won't cheat on her.
Yeah. Bring me
So
a
she
pet.
asked-
Bring me a pet.
And bring her an honest man.
Yeah, bring Brooke a pet too, if you could. So I don't know, maybe, and again, so here's Brooke with a preteen who she obviously is aware of Aunt Brooke's love life. I mean, because it's one thing to know that Brooke had a boyfriend and he's not around anymore, but like to know the details of Aunt Brooke's, so wrong.
Yeah. Brooke apparently has some boundary issues with preteens and teens.
So we're done talking to Santa. Brooke's got her hot chocolate, turns around and whoops, bumps into Circle and spills hot chocolate all over him.
Or delicious mead, as he calls it.
It's tasty mead.
You spilled this delicious mead on me.
She's like, hot chocolate? Okay, whatever.
Yep. So we really get an impression of how terrible this actor is. Yeah. Oh, man.
He's very one note.
Josh Whitehouse.
Yeah.
Like Sir Cole. Sorry, Josh. Go back to community theater, my friend.
Yeah. So then a blizzard apparently hits.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's in this town, blizzards just hit out of nowhere, by the way.
It's a whiteout.
Yeah.
So bad.
Then she hits him with her car.
Well, it cracked me up because as she's trying to drive, she's got her wipers on, but it's almost cameras set up in the car from the passenger seat looking at her. She keeps pulling the hair out of her eyes, like that's somehow going to get the snow off the windshield.
Yep.
Like, all these emo bangs are keeping me from seeing what I'm like. Whatever. Yeah, like you said, she just runs over.
She just runs into him.
Yeah, just runs into him.
Good thing he had the armor on because he's not hurt.
He's been hit by faster steeds than the one she's driving. I don't know. It's nothing. By the way, we haven't touched on this. Nothing in modern day Ohio is too much of a challenge for Sir Cole. He has instantly adapted to.
No, he's a fast learner. That Sir Cole.
Not only to the fact that the English language 800 years ago would have been unintelligible in modern day. It doesn't matter. The English language apparently hasn't changed over those 800 years. But he arrives in everything is new and nothing is out of normal for him. Nope. Like he's seeing kids.
He's
Santa.
Very adaptive.
Yes. Oh, very much. And there's people in coats and there's this super tiny castle and all this and tall buildings and nothing, and it doesn't faze him at all.
No, he's fine. Yeah. He's just all right. Well, there's a horseless carriage right here, and
then it's just all of these these Demolition Man style puns coming off of like, oh, look at all the crazy situations Cole is in. Look at how he describes a car. Look at how he describes a radio. And so
fish out of water.
It got old real quick. But yeah, we find out here. So Brooke runs over Cole. Nobody called the police, but somehow here comes a speeding squad car down the road. But it
just happens to be right there, and it happens to be an officer that she knows.
Lights are flashing. He's headed down. Like again, nobody had called the police at all, but he's aware of this traffic accident. So he shows up, and he's a proper police officer. We should probably take him to the hospital and not thirsty Brooke. Oh no, I got a guest house. This guy's going home with me.
So Brooke decides to take this amnesiac. He was diagnosed, medical diagnosis of amnesia at the hospital. Yeah. She takes him home to her guest house.
That's what I would do with a complete stranger with a sword. I'd take the John Lithgow approach of like Harry and the Hendersons, and I ran it over. It's mine. I'm going to take it home now. This is my trophy.
Harry and the Hendersons. Get out of here. Nobody likes you.
That's basically what she did. She runs him over with a car and then get in. We're going home. I have a guest house. Yep. I have a guest house that's nicer than my main house. And that's where you're staying, Circle.
Yeah, and the officer allows this.
Absolutely. Okay, Brooke, if you think this is what's best. Because I'm sure the cop probably knows her relationship background as well. Everybody in town seems to.
The cop does know her because it's revealed as they're leaving that Brooke's parents are both dead.
Yes.
And her dad was a cop.
Oh, okay.
Apparently on this same beat. So
on the
so
force.
they know they know him, they miss him. Okay, so she knows everybody. Brooke feels so bad about hitting him with the car.
Oh, terrible. She can't wait to get him
guilty.
home and get him a shower.
which they do.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, he does. She.
Yes.
Woo. This isn't PG-14 or this isn't TV-14 because they take a shower. No, we
No,
don't.
no.
He
doesn't
takes
quite
a shower,
go that
right.
far.
So, but yeah, like so at this point, and granted it's early, but there is zero chemistry between these two. I read. I have this later on in my notes, and it cracked me up. You may have seen it if you read the trivia, but prior to filming, the director wanted these two to have amazing chemistry. And
I did read this. I did.
And it like set up to where they were going to go somewhere for a week together to just bond and feel each other out, really get to know each other. She didn't show up. It was just him and his horse.
I do have in my notes, because he's very. The horse doesn't time travel with him.
No, not yet.
The horse, yes, not yet. The horse's name is Sherwin, and being the big the Svengoolie fan that I am, in my notes I just called him Berwin.
Berwin.
His horse Berwin.
Sherwin the horse.
Sherwin.
Yeah, so there's just no chemistry yet between these two.
No,
and she's not a horrible actress, she's fine. I mean, she's an accomplished actress. She's played in large roles before. She can hold her own. Like she's
not taking an award home for this, but she competently performs.
Yes, and she carries like every scene that they are in.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, and so she's very competent, even with body language. I mean, she's a joy to watch. Again, she's not, like you said, she's not winning awards. But she's a competent Hollywood actress. Mm-hmm. I have in my notes
at this point that this movie is painful so far.
Yes,
we're about like 20 minutes in.
And it's somehow painless as well, because we're hitting people with cars and it's not impacting them at all. So, but I have a note here. I'll let you get back to. Is this entire movie focused on Cole calling out things he's never encountered before? Like, she turns the music on and he's looking around in the back seat for the musicians.
For the minstrels.
It's just so dumb. So dumb.
Like, I get it's supposed to be fish out of water, but like it's and those are easy like tales to tell, and like it's easy humor to tap into.
Oh yeah.
And they just miss it so bad.
Well, and it's just the repetition of the missed opportunities. Because, again, a few of these jokes here and there are fine, but he has no physical reaction to anything that, like, he's not surprised, he's not shocked.
Yeah, there's no wonderment.
No, it's just so bad.
Oh, the minstrels.
Where are they at? And that old crone tapped him on. Oh, it's just bad. He should have stayed back in 1334.
So they get back to Brooke's house, which is enormous. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
she lives in an enormous house, which apparently her folks left to her.
Yeah, had to, because she's a teacher.
Yeah, she's a public school teacher,
and she's not an old teacher. Like, she doesn't have the gift of veteran status where I've been teaching so long, my salary is solid. No, she's young.
But she's got this enormous house. He gets confused by things like the refrigerator and
Alexa. And Alexa.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed at this point in the movie that just I was, oh god, my eyes were just in a constant state of rolling. He keeps using words like hearken and prithee and cauldron.
Yeah.
And like, I get that's his language, but it's so forced.
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
So just
yes. Like I said, community theater award winner. This guy.
Mm-hmm. So here comes the first of the TV-14 ratings. She says she'll update his wardrobe with her ex's clothes, and she calls the ex a douche.
Yeah, and she kept his clothes for this long. Mm-hmm. Brooks, I don't know. I don't think there's enough deep diving into Brooke's issues. I mean, clearly
there's clearly some attachment issues there.
And he actually calls her out a little bit. He calls her out a little bit on her lack of self-esteem and self-confidence. But yeah, there's like she clearly. I mean, the way that she physically reacts whenever her ex is in the vicinity, it's very. She's got issues that she needs to talk about as well.
So one thing he does figure out though is how to use the shower or bathtub, because it cuts to
immediately.
Because it cuts to him walking out of there wearing a towel,
right,
and like sopping wet, and so it clearly is meant to indicate that her level of physical attraction to him, because her eyes linger on him just a little too long, if you know what I mean. It
had to be a hard sell for Vanessa Hudgens. She really acted it up here, because granted, I'm no Adonis, but he come out of that shower and I'm like, that's it? Like, that's your thirst trap? This guy's built like a 16-year-old. Like, that's it. All right. But, whatever. But yeah, good for her to be like, ooh. Yeah, this was no Haley Atwell reacting to Chris Evans as Captain America reaction.
Coming out of the machine.
Yeah, this is no reaction there. This is just bad.
Yeah. Ugh. So she's talking on her sister. She tells her sister, "Oh, I brought a stranger home with amnesia who believes he's a 14th century knight." And her rationale is that, I got a quote here. This is one I couldn't not take down. "I've been teaching long enough to know a good apple when I see one." No,
you haven't.
No. So you bring all of your good apples home whenever that they're in need, is what I hear there. Yeah, she's got some boundary issues,
big
folks.
Time. And so he's hungry. This is where we gotta have a dinner date. So we take him to the diner with 4 booths.
Yeah,
get him some food. Boyfriend walks in. There was some comical elements here, where he finishes his food and finishes his mead, his hot chocolate, and he wants some more, so he calls out for the wench.
Yeah, so it's a very Thor moment when Thor breaks the coffee cup, but he just it's the same thing. He calls for the wench.
It was a little comical, not because he called her that, but just the look on her face, like the waitress. So she shot him like, what do you, but it again just a quick blip to get them somewhere else. Next, go ahead.
The ex and the new girlfriend walk in, and Brooke's like, "Oh, they're here.
I gotta hide because I'm an adult woman."
And so Sir Cole
goes real quick, further reference, because we just referenced the ex-boyfriend. We see him in this movie 3 times, maybe 3 or 4 times. There is no indication on his behalf that he does anything to antagonize her or acknowledge her.
Literally
he's
there.
Just there. So he has moved on. He has moved on, and he's an adult about it. And she's the one that is making the very immature, just reactions to him being around, calling him a douche, slinking down in the booth. Just like again, the boundary issues, the attachment issues. Brooke needs some help.
Although Brooke does the right thing in that she prevents Sir Cole from drawing his sword at the diner.
And murdering
Why
him.
does he have his sword at the diner? Everyone thinks this is normal.
To cut his cheeseburger in half? I don't know.
Guess.
He's never seen a knife.
Ugh. So we're back at the house. We got some good Amazon product placement here.
Oh, yeah, from Netflix, which I thought was odd.
Yeah, I did think that was a little bizarre. So they're using Alexa. Brooke's trying to teach him how to use it. And it's meant to be fish out of water. It's just fingers on a chalkboard.
It's bad.
It's
bad.
He watches the picture box TV. He's confused about it.
Imagine that.
But then he figures it out. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't take him more than a moment. Yeah. Next morning, Madison comes over. Madison,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You definitely got something to say.
She is thirsty. At this point, I didn't realize, because I didn't realize that Madison was married. I knew she had a child, but I didn't know she was married. We meet the husband a little later on. And she walks in and she's eyeing this guy up and down. She's making
she is
like she's mouthing words to Brooke. Like, you know, she's thirsty when your sister says, "I brought a guy home with me last night," and then she comes over the next morning and she's giving no indication to respecting the boundaries that her sister has in place of like, "I brought this guy home last night," and the sister's like, "Oh my god, like I need some of that." You know, and
everyone in this movie has boundary issues.
Yeah, everyone. It's like, you're a married woman. I didn't realize that because I thought later on when he showed up, I even asked Jenny. I'm like, "Who's that guy?" "Oh, that's Madison's husband." I'm like, "Oh, she's married?" Like, ooh, the way she was, oogling Circle earlier, I thought maybe not.
Hey, by the way, listeners, the reason why we keep calling him Circle is because he insists that he's called Sir Cole. He's earned that title.
Right. And I want to be respectful of his knighthood. I don't think it's fair to diminish him any further than we have already.
So at this point, he's been here for about 12, 15 hours or so. Mm-hmm. And you can tell he's been up all night because he's using modern lingo. What do you think of these awesome new threads?
Yeah.
They're straight fire. Modern technology is lit AF.
This was straight out of Splash. I'm glad you used that in your movie Marriage, because in Splash, when Madison's watching TV all day, and then Tom Hanks comes home, and all her vocabulary now is just commercials in the dialect and speech patterns of said commercials. So, actor here did the same kind of thing. So, yep, seen it already. Daryl Hannah did it better.
Ugh. So, the further I go into the plot, the more I just want to... I don't know. I'm having a hard time sticking to the script here.
That's fine. We can speed through it.
They unpack some decorations. They bond over the fact that their parents are all dead.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of dead parents or like missing parents in these movies, by the way. That's something you've noticed as we've watched a couple of these now.
Absolutely. Like, they see Disney's, we're going to take one parent from you and we're going to up it. We're going to take all parents from you. And the parents we leave you are going to have very sweet bonds and relationships with you. But yeah, it's that absence of love. It's that fulfilling a need. It just, there's an empty spot in my heart and I need this gentleman to fill it.
Yeah. I like the way you put that, absence of love, and it's not a want, it is a need for a lot of these characters, and definitely for Brooke Winters in this movie.
I would say arguably, last week's Lauren, probably the most fulfilled and complete love character we needed, because Love was dancing around in front of her all movie long, and she didn't see it because she didn't feel she needed to see it. But everybody else in these movies, absolutely, there's a fantasy to fulfill, and I need love. I need that hole filled, and so that's what these movies are for.
Mm-hmm. They go to a Christmas tree farm. He has a double-bladed axe for some reason to chop down a Christmas tree.
I didn't see him bring that back, but yeah, he's got one. Yeah,
he has a double-bladed axe, takes down a tree in one swing at like 45% strength.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Netflix's money did not come through in some of these props and some of these effects here.
But what I did love about this scene is the couple that were trying to chop down a tree in the background. And he was trying to chop it down, and she was giving him lip for it. And then he watches Circle do it, and then he does it. And the way the wife reacts to him, I even said to Jenny, I'm like, well, somebody's getting some tonight because you one-shot this Christmas tree. She was so like, so good for you, buddy.
That definitely put an extra pep in their relationship.
We do hit a point where Brooke and Cole have a honest conversation about time travel, and neither one of them are shocked.
No, even she's just like, yeah, okay, maybe it's a thing.
This sounds like time travel. And he's got his medallion, he's got his amulet, and I put that in bold. Talk about time travel, and in capital bold, neither of them are shocked. Like, nothing is up for grabs in this. Like, everything is normal.
They're completely open to it.
It's totally normal. And I'll I'll give Circle a little bit of leeway here, as he did have a conversation with Old Crone. He's on a quest. He knows he's on a quest. She gave him, he even though he's adapted immediately to 800 years in the future, at least some processing that I'm willing to give him is he's aware of what's going on. He was part of this quest. She gave it to him. This is where she sent him. And he views her as a mystical, magical being. So in his world, this isn't so far-fetched. But in her world, this is like, thank God he's Circle and not like the T-800. It just time travels and shows up, and I can't imagine. This could have gone really wrong.
Yeah. Good thing he's a nice guy.
Right? No kidding.
Because she's very trusting.
Very trusting. At one point, she gives him the keys to her car.
Yeah.
Like.
And assuming that he knows how to drive.
Right. Well, and
his amnesia.
Yeah, she's still an amnesia of like, oh, well, maybe this will trigger it. Oh, God. And the cop is like, well, all right. This is just, man.
Yeah. So moving on here, they're at, I don't know, they're at Madison's house or Brooke's house. It doesn't matter.
Right.
We get an NCU reference. We get a Netflix Christmas Universe reference here. Madison and her daughter Claire are decorating the tree, and Madison shows Claire a wooden acorn ornament that
so exciting.
Claire's dead grandparents picked up on a trip to Aldovia, as in the same Aldovia from A Christmas Prince.
Yep.
This little 20-second cutaway meant nothing to the narrative of this movie.
Nothing.
It's never referenced again. But again, in the spirit of the Netflix Christmas universe, the NCU, we had to make an Aldovia reference.
There were a lot of little scenes in this movie that did nothing for the story and plot. Which is kind of a flip on everything we've seen so far, where the last three movies have been Christmas event, and there's no time for our leads to actually be together to bond and grow. Whereas this movie is the opposite of that. That's all Brooke. It's Christmas break for Brooke, so she doesn't have to go to work. She doesn't have anything to do. She has the Christmas Eve feast to prepare for. But that was just one. They really have like just one thing all of Christmas week, which is actually pretty normal, in terms of what we do in reality. I know next week is not filled with event after event after event.
not like you being the Christmas trees,
right.
Where every 12 hours there's a new community event.
Well, and even last week there was constantly things going on at the community center. Whereas this one, it's like our leads are together all the time. And so when they throw something else in there, like you said, like this Aldovian reference, or later on we see, Claire and a friend, go on an adventure. Like, they're just thrust in there, and I don't know. It's like the director saw, what are the Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy movies where before sunrise and before sunset. It's almost like, let's just stick these two characters together and let's just follow their development together, because that's kind of how it was. Like, that's all we did. It was just scene after scene after scene of Brooke and Cole. Yeah. But it just got so convoluted because they have no chemistry and there's nothing that they could do together. Vanessa Hudgens tried her absolute hardest to carry but he wasn't giving her anything. That when these other scenes are in there, they're just off.
So you mentioned the feast. So the Christmas Eve feast is a thing that her parents started. It's, to help the underprivileged in the community, blah, blah, blah. They go shopping for it, more fish out of water stuff.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to the grocery store. This Circle's obviously never been to a grocery store before, but he's comfortable there.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like making quips, and like she's like, "Oh, you can't put those 8 things of hot chocolate in the cart." And
he does anyway.
And he does, because he's Circle, and this movie has nothing else going for it.
She runs at the store. She runs into her student again.
Yes, because boundaries.
Right, and was this one? I don't remember what happened. It doesn't matter. But she runs into her student, and they have a boundary issue conversation while Circle is eating rolls out of the packaging.
That's right. She runs into the student. The student asks if she can do extra credit to help her midterm grade.
Yeah.
And Brooke says, "I'm sure we can figure out something." A wink, wink.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has boundaries issues. She has ethical issues.
Yeah. Because you're having a rough love life, I'll just gift you some points. Meanwhile, idiot Knight back here is just eating rolls. I bite out of each roll and spitting them out. Because this bread is terrible. Which leads to...
Mm-hmm. So they're back at Brooke's, and Brooke and Cole are baking, and he puts his arm... Like, she's not rolling the dough properly or something, and he, like, forcefully puts his arms around her.
Yeah.
It's meant to be this kind of, like, beautiful moment that's bringing them together, and it looked kind of rapey.
A little bit,
It looked kind of rapey to me.
Yeah, this was your let me show you how to swing a bat, let me show you how to play mini golf moment.
Let me show you how to shoot an arrow in Aldovia.
Right, but this was more, and it didn't fit because I had a note earlier that his honor as a knight is the only thing that kept these guys from hooking up on night one. She was ready.
Mm-hmm.
But
she was.
But she lacks the self-confidence that he calls her out on earlier to actually push forward with any of it. Like, this quest could have been over the night he showed up in Ohio. Like, that's how lucky he was. Old Crone puts him on a quest, transport him 800 years in the future, the one woman he's supposed to fall in love with. And we know this because Crone is there as Mrs. Claus. She is so good at setting knights out on a quest that within minutes of him being in his destination, the woman of his dreams has spilled hot chocolate on him and then taken him home and then seen him topless. Like, all of this could have been over in a commercial break. But instead, we get a week's worth of drawn-out bread-making rapiness.
Bread-making rapiness.
But it was awkward because, like, his honor as a knight is really what's kept these two apart. And then this scene is really, it was just awkward because she's been ready for this invitation all movie long. And he's just been still adapting to the fish out of water of modern day Ohio, Canada. But it's just, that he's like, well, let me show you how to knead this bread properly. You can
let me show you how to roll the dough, baby.
Right. It's like, she's been watching you do it. You're right next to her. Model it, you know?
Yes. But instead, he puts his arms completely around her shoulders. Just cringy.
Yeah, it was.
And they start making cutesy eyes at each other. And thank God the phone rings, because in these movies, things interrupt romance. And I was so happy for it in this circumstance.
Right.
And Madison's freaking out.
Is that another night from 1334? Circumstance?
Yeah, circumstance. Hi-oh, ha-ha. So, Claire's lost in the snowstorm and these random blizzards in Ohio. She's lost in a snowstorm.
Right.
Brooke, Sir Cole, come over and help me find my daughter.
Yeah, David's there because one of David's daughters is the best friend of Claire. There's this cute little, you're too poor to have gloves. Well, here, have mine. I have extras.
We'll
get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. So David's off looking one direction, the cop's looking in the other, and we've got Billy from Predator here that can track anything.
Billy from Predator,
track anything, and so that's what we do. We go on this quick tracking adventure where Claire and her friends start in the backyard of their house, but got lost in the snow and end up blocks away in the middle of a pond.
Yeah.
These girls are idiots.
But their hands are warm.
Well, one of them is.
One of them, yeah. So Claire ends up on this frozen pond, and we get the requisite Netflix Christmas action adventure scene. In A Christmas Prince, it was the wolf attack.
Yeah, in this one, it's act like a snail. That's how action-packed it is. Be a snail, Claire.
So Sir Cole saves her. He has his sword with him the whole time, I noticed, because that's what knights do.
Yeah.
And so he saves her, crawl like a snail across the ice, and he saves the day. Claire is safe, and everyone's happy.
I would have loved, Jenny made the comment too, she goes, he should have just offered her his sword so we could watch her slice her hands up as he's pulling her across the ice. Just,
Sir Cole, it hurts.
We're like almost here, snail. And I granted he wasn't going to make an army crawl reference, but apparently snails in 1334 army crawl, because that's exactly what she did. I was expecting this really slow, like just, you told me to be a snail, so I'm going to take an hour to get there. So yeah, it would have
been more interesting than anything else in the movie prior to that.
Yeah, he saves the girls, and basically gets offered a position on the police force now.
Yeah, yeah.
We're always looking for good men.
Yeah, he does a good deed. So here's a job in local law enforcement.
Yeah, you can be a cop.
Other cutesy things happen. We get some info about poor David.
Yeah.
David, he's, again, with the other girl's dad. He's got 4 kids, wife's dead, works 2 jobs. Everyone pities him.
But he still takes the time to volunteer to show his kids it's important to give back.
Yeah, because he's a good guy. David's a good guy. Skipping a lot of cutesy stuff.
Yeah.
We're at the feast. And Brooke gives a speech. David's there with his kids. The kids are like, I wish we had a fancy tree like this one.
Sure sucks being poor and half orphan.
There is no subtlety to this whatsoever.
No.
I'm watching this and I just wanted to curl up into a ball. Like, I work in mental health. Like, there's not a lot of things that like kind of get under my skin at this point in my life and in my professionalism. And I just wanted to disappear as I watched this next scene.
Yes. I think the way the actor portraying David handled this is very realistic. I felt so bad for him. Anyway, go ahead.
So she gives a speech and they bring Dave and his family into another room and there's a tree and there's presents under it. And they basically just hand him an envelope filled with money.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're poor. We're not. So here you go.
Santa screwed up and delivered all of your gifts here tonight. So you won't have any gifts tomorrow at home.
No, there's no consideration for for this guy or what they're doing. Like they're basically publicly shaming him for being poor, but to make themselves feel better about helping a poor out, they put him on the spot in front of the entire community, and hand him an envelope of money,
and basically tell his kids that Santa's not he cares about you tonight, but not in the morning. So basically,
God.
Oh, it's so
the
bad.
Whole thing, it's icky, and there's no dignity, and they're just full of pity for him, and it's there's no empathy whatsoever.
A lot of back realize.
They're clearly doing this for them and not for this family.
Right.
Ew.
Just it was so uncomfortable. The entire scene, so uncomfortable.
So they're cleaning up after the feast, and Cole holds up some mistletoe, and we've got the neighbor, lady, nosy neighbor,
nosy neighbor who's been kind of making plays off and on at Cole all movie, because she won the award on High School for best flirt. So she comes up to Cole and she's like, well, you're supposed to kiss under mistletoe, and then sees him look at Brooke and then respectfully backs off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, take this mistletoe and hook up under it anyway.
Yeah. So he goes up with, to Brooke with this mistletoe, and we see that old crone just happens to be there in a red sweater. So she's not there as Mrs. Claus, but she's still kind of covert.
Right.
And Brooke and Cole kiss under this mistletoe.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be this culminating moment in the movie, and they're sweet, and he's fulfilling his quest.
Usually in a Hallmark movie, this is like they would kiss and then 4 seconds later the credits roll because their movie's over.
Yeah. No. And if you thought that scene with David and his family was cringeworthy, in the wide shot of them kissing, old crone is in the frame, just with her hands folded contently, just watching them kiss with this smile on her face. It's so gross.
Yeah, it's bad.
She's just watching them kiss in the frame. Yep, I made them find love, and later on, ooh.
So
where else is she going to appear unwanted?
So they kiss, and well, that completes Cole's quest. So it's time for him to return back to 1334. So he does.
There's like 10 minutes left in the movie at this point.
So
he's back at. He's back in the 14th century.
He kneels down and disappears in a cloud of smoke machine. And off he goes. And so now he's on a mad rate. He's back in 1334. I actually had in my notes, I erased him earlier because I was wondering, the entire time that Cole's been lost in the woods, has anyone looked for him? When they find back, they did. They've been looking for Cole. He gets his horse, Berwin.
Berwin.
Takes off back. He tells his brother, hey, congratulations on being a knight. That's awesome. Anyway, I'm in love with somebody 800 years in the future. I gotta go. And the
brother's like, okay. Okay. Oh, go find your love. Okay.
Yeah, he's our Chad in this.
Yeah.
And so, Circle goes back to the woods looking for Old Crone by hollering, Old Crone, Old Crone. She comes out from behind the same tree, and he's like, oh, I'm in love now. I can't be here. You got to send me back. Yep.
And just like that, literally about 3 minutes later in the runtime, he's back in the present. And he has Berwin with him.
Yes, and they're in the Christmas Castle Village thing again. It's important so that we didn't freak out Berwin the horse. Look, there's castles here. You're okay. And so then it was just really weird too, because prior to this even, before he went back, when Cole went and put on his knight outfit and then was taking selfies.
Yeah,
with kids by the Christmas tree, because
they had to give him a reason to put his night stuff back on.
Oh, that makes sense. So I'm like, why? Because it's Christmas night. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
No, the movie had it going back to the past. So here's a contrived reason to put your night gear back on.
I think it would have been funnier if he goes back in his Columbia vest. He shows up from modern day Ohio. It really, really flips the really on its.
And they burn him at the stake.
Yeah, because you're a witch. Old Crone is just there he is.
So in the present, right before Cole rematerializes after dematerializing, Brooke runs into her same student again.
And tells the student.
True love does exist in fairy
I was
tales.
wrong. All the advice I've given you so far about love, I was wrong. So let's further mangle this teenager's view of romance.
If I was this kid, I'd be like, did you get a chance to grade my essay?
I just checked my student info system online, and my grade hasn't changed. So what have we done here?
So yeah, she kind of forces this advice on this poor kid. Ugh.
Yeah. And like, we see Brooke in this movie. She's out quite a bit during Christmas week with Circle. Mm-hmm. Is this an independent study class? Is this a one-on-one teacher course? Because no other students in town. Like, she's at this Christmas village multiple times, and no other student ever acknowledges her, pays attention to her. Just this one who has grade issues. So
she's probably running the carousel.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's just this one student who's having grade issues. Almost reminds me of that episode of Friends where Ross has a student profess his love for him because he wants a better grade, so Ross gives it to him, and then all these other students start to. It's like, is that it? You're realistically, she's such a cringy educator that none of the other kids need nor want anything from her. This one just needs the grade boost, and so she weathers the storm of.
Love's hard. Okay, what my grade?
Again, this is the second time this month I've referenced Molly Shannon's character in Wet Hot American Summer. Yep. It's another one of these of just okay. Let's get this over with. Cringe.
And then he's back in the present with Berwin.
Right.
Oh, they miss each other. Then he's there, and he realizes she's the quest.
Right. Yep.
And then they kiss. No one is questioning this, by the way.
Nope.
No one. And everyone's there. Poor David is there. Yeah. The niece is there. The sister's there.
Yeah, even Madison is like, where's Cole? Oh, he left. And he left. Yeah, he went back in time. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. Ugh.
And then he's back, and maybe I'll start a bakery or join the police.
Yes.
because that's
one of the
what
two.
one does. Yeah,
one of the two. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I understand. I understand local law enforcement policy and small business ownership. I'm totally fine with being an entrepreneur.
I think he has his entrepreneurial certificate. He learned from local community college.
He got it somewhere in the 800 years that it took of travel.
Yeah. And then they get out his horse and roll credits.
Yep, that's it.
And that's it. Although, Oz, because this is the NCU,
we got a plant to see.
We have a mid-credit sequence to continue the NCU narrative. Old Crone, we're back in the 14th century again. Old Crone appears before Geoffrey the brother, has another medallion. This one glows red. Gives it to him. Fade to black.
Yep. It's your turn to go on your quest, Sir Geoffrey. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is The Night Before Christmas.
The Night Before Christmas. That was definitely a movie.
So we rate this bad boy?
Oh, let's give it a rating.
At
this point, listeners and viewers, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the movie we've just discussed and reviewed. So, Oz, why don't you go first? How would you rate The Night Before Christmas?
I would give this movie 3 nights of community theater.
3 nights of community theater is Oz's
of the same show. So by nights 2 and 3, you're absolutely miserable.
Yes, I'm giving The Night Before Christmas 12 professional educator ethics violations.
Oh, look at you! That's a good one. Yeah, because there's at least 12.
Her file's quite thick with ethics violations.
Right, but everyone feels bad for her. It's okay.
Yeah, everyone pity. This movie's just full of pity.
Pity. Especially for David. Ugh.
Poor David, literally.
Right. This town keeps it up. David's kids will be full on orphans. Like he'll have I would be moving my kids out of this town immediately if I could. Even if I couldn't afford it, we'll figure it out, kids. Everybody hop on Billy's bike, his brand new community purchase bike. We're riding out of here.
Yep. So at this point, as we wrap things up, Oz and I will give our 3, 2, 1s, where we each indicate our 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 huzz from the movie. Oz, what are your 3 goods for The Night Before Christmas?
All right. My first one, so much snow. We actually saw falling snow landing on things in this movie. We haven't seen any of that yet this month. We see a lot of snow overlays. I was expecting snow overlays. We got actual snow. I don't care if it was potato flakes or whatever it was, but it was the appearance of physical reactionary snow. So that's a bonus. 2, I was really surprised by the arrival of God Rest You Merry Gentlemen by the Bare Naked Ladies over the end credits.
That's right.
It is, honestly, it surprises Jenny because we've got on Apple Music, we've got a playlist of our favorite Christmas songs that we just rotate through. And it's probably 32 songs or something like that. And this is one of my favorites anyway. I just really like this song. And so it showed up and I perked up. I physically was like, wow, it's Bare Naked Ladies. And this is the song. So that's my second good. And third, this one is actually movie plot related. It shows where we're at. If my first 2 goods are about the snow falling and a song in the closing credits. But scenes centered around relationship building instead of Christmas parties makes this relationship for these two a little more believable. We actually saw them with a multitude of time committed to each other to actually flesh this thing out. Even if both of our lead characters are complete imbeciles and idiots, their relationship was forged over time together, not just activities that they've done all week. So I'll give that as my third good. What about you?
My first good, I have to just highlight the NCU, the Netflix Christmas universe. The unnecessary, but still for me, fulfilling reference to Aldovia and the wooden acorn ornament. They had a mid-credit sequence. Yeah, they're clearly taking a page out of the MCU by establishing the NCU. Unnecessary, but just stupid fun for stupid fun's sake.
Right.
My second is I'm a sucker for a good fish out of water story. Like the bumbling person just adapting to the new environment.
Yes.
or the new era or the
what
new
are some
whatever.
What are some examples of fish out of water stories that you enjoy?
Well, something like Splash, which is a little more of a literal fish out of water story, but just as she adapts to the surroundings, trusts the Tom Hanks character to keep her safe and keep her secure, and yeah, it's when done right, fish out of water stories can be a lot of fun. And this didn't do it right, but it's still technically a fish out of water story.
Right, so fair enough.
And my last good, I guess I was going to mention we had real fake snow, but I'll go with Vanessa Hudgens doing the heavy lifting here.
Oh yeah,
making this as watchable as possible. She also served as a producer on the movie as well, so I guess I tip my cap to Vanessa Hudgens at her efforts and performance in this.
Right. Well, and this is one of those movies that didn't require full involvement. She didn't have to give her all for a movie like this, but she did. And so kudos to you, that you're in a platform that probably is a step or two below where you would prefer to be, but you still bring your best effort. And that definitely made the movie more palpable.
Yep. She gave it the old college try.
Yeah, for sure.
Oz, what are your two bads for the night before Christmas?
I actually have 3 bads. So, and I know you probably have a couple more. First one.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I could summarize this in 2, but I have it as 3 bullet points. 1, Brooke's an idiot. Just an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
You're a professional educator, which does give the semblance of intelligence, okay? But despite being a teacher, you invite this total stranger into your home the night that you meet him. You hand him the keys to your car when you're not even remotely convinced he knows how to drive. And, on top of all the cringiness of how you handle the relationship with your students, how you handle the relationship or how you handle the situation with David and his children. Like, there's just so many pieces of evidence that, like, this woman she needs help. She's lost,
like the professional help.
Yes, professional help. She needs a therapist. She needs to work through a lot of these issues, and there's no fault in having therapy at all.
No. She just needs to accept that she needs help.
Right. And that your sister, who, despite being married, is dealing with the same loss of parent trauma that you are, is not your go-to as a therapist. You need somebody outside of your circle to, that can listen to you and not impact relationships. But and so I don't mean she's an idiot by that she needs help, but she just makes so many idiotic choices. And I ran this guy over with my car, and a police officer is here to handle the situation, but I'm gonna go ahead and take him home. That's okay. Even the cop was like,
to my home.
Right, to my home. I'm not going to help him get set up. I'm going to take this man who thinks he's a knight and has a weapon on him to my house. And so that was my first bad. She's just an idiot with so many of her choices. And my second bad is his immediate adjustment to arriving 800 years in the future. Like, the movie tried to play it off as, well, if we took him from a castle setting and we have him show up in this Christmas castle setting, which is just like a cardboard structure. It's not like a full-on live inside of a castle type castle. But maybe we could, but we've joked quite a bit, but this fish out of water scenario, but there's like, he's not taken aback by anything in this. No physical reaction to any of the newness he's dealing with. And it's just, it got hard to watch after a while. Because, like, here's another scene of Cole reacting. Here's another scene of Cole reacting.
Yeah.
So those are my 2/3.
I've got, I'll say 2. I'm going to kind of combine some of the ones in my notes here. One of them, I'm going to go with, we'll say pacing issues. Mm-hmm. Despite, you're minutes into the movie and he's now in the present, but it still felt like it just took forever to get going. And at the end, there's 10 minutes left, and now he's thrown back into the 14th century to then, 3 minutes later, 3 runtime minutes later, he's back in the present again.
Right.
It's very herky-jerky in the pacing of this. You throw in the fact that the male lead is such a bad actor, and that just drags the pacing down as well. Like, it's supposed to be fun. Fish out of water stories are fun. They don't have to be good, but just be fun, and it was neither.
Right. Yeah, anytime he had to do any lifting in a scene, like his best performances in this movie were when he was in the background. You know, I thought it was funny when she's having that conversation with her student at the store and he's standing back there taking a bite of each roll and then just spitting it out. Like that part is fine. Small doses of this guy worked well, but anytime he had to add anything to a scene, it just fell apart.
My other bad was just the cringiness of this movie. And again, like, discomfort is something I typically don't have a problem with. But, like, there was 2 moments in this movie that were just awful. And it was the insensitivity to poor David and his poor kids, and how they lift him up to put on their poor pillar so they can all feel great about themselves at this community feast. And just no dignity, no sensitivity. Here's some presents for your poor kids, and here's an envelope full of money because you're a poor, David. Don't we feel great? We helped out somebody less fortunate than us.
Look what our community did.
Ugh.
We're so good.
Yeah. And then just the whole, like, old crone in the same frame watching them kiss, like, ew, like, ugh, this is supposed to be an intimate moment between these 2 characters. He's fulfilling his quest. She's definitely compensating for other needs and holes in her life. And this woman is just standing there with this, like, smile on her face, just watching them kiss. It's just gross. It's gross, Oz. It's just,
I don't know what witches, I don't know what witches are into. That might be something they're into.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't want to shame her for a quirk she has, but it just didn't work.
Right.
It
no,
didn't work.
It was, no, not at all.
Oz, what's your one for the night before Christmas?
Just one. All
right. One.
All right. I want to know, do the rules of cinematic time travel apply in this film? We see Circle fast forward to 800 years later in the last 10 minutes of this. So this is where he lives now. He's no longer a 14th century knight in the British Empire, which is expanding their base and expanding their reach around the world. He's no longer of service of that fighting force. He's now a police baker in 2019. In the mid-credit sequence, as soon as his brother is knighted, we see Old Crone again give him a quest, assuming he's probably on another quest for love and he's probably going to be thrown somewhere else in the timeline. So with Old Crone taking all of these knights in 14th century Britain and spacing them out through time and space all around the time loop, will it's almost like the end of a Batman, will Batman, a Batman episode.
Tune in next week.
Right. Will 14th century England have enough knights left to expand their borders and reach around the world? Does that impact the future as we know it now? Sure, one knight missing isn't a big deal, but what happens in modern day Ohio if the British Empire doesn't get to expand its borders? Because it's not very much longer. I mean, 300 in that time frame, we've inhabited North America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So do the rules of cinematic time travel apply? If you take someone from one timeline and add them to another timeline, does that erase their existence in the original timeline? Does it impact the events in the future? I don't know. Makes my head hurt. But that's my is what's happening when all these knights are being taken away by, because Old Crone has time shifting abilities. We see her show up, so it's not going to impact her at all. But what's happening to the rest of the timeline?
My is just like the weird social norms people have in this movie. Like, he's walking around with a sword everywhere he goes.
Right.
and like, even
at the
police
diner.
are like, yeah, even the police are like, well, you should just join the force, right? Like,
we could use
he walks out of the hospital with his armor and a sword and a bag, and they're like, here you go. You're clearly not a threat to anyone.
Right.
So like there's these bizarre social norms in this community, and like you could just walk these weapons around anywhere, particularly this long sword.
Right. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, it's bad. Well,
so that was 2019's The Night Before Christmas, folks.
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. We're going to do another one of these next week. We got 5 weeks this month that we could do a movie. And next week will be our post-Christmas week. So, what do you think? We should do another one?
I think we should do another one. Why not? Right. We've subjected ourselves to this for 4 weeks. Why not make it 5?
All right. Well, let's say this is all obviously pre-canned because we knew we were doing another one next week. We are going to shift gears for next week, keeping under the same Hallmark-esque Christmas movies. But we're going to add a Hallmark New Year's movie to this list. So next week... They
make New Year's movies too, Oz.
Yes, they do. Next week, we will be covering 2021's A New Year's Resolution. You can't get any more New Year's than that. A New Year's Resolution, where we have a local television talk show host who has a New Year's resolution to say yes more. And so she partners up with with another yes man to probably fall in love.
I can't see how the premise of this could go wrong in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. So next week we will be covering not a Christmas movie because it's after Christmas, but we will be covering a New Year's resolution. It is a Hallmark movie, listeners and viewers. So if you have been on board for the first 4 weeks, we thank you and we hope you come back again. Next week, as we've got one more movie that will satisfy your urges.
Round out the month.
That's right. So we are 8 weeks in. Next week will be 9 weeks. And on our first 9 weeks, 5 of them have been Hallmark movies. So we are not typecasting ourselves.
Hey, Oz, where can our listeners find us?
That's a great question. You can find us on our website. It's a BuzzFeed address. You'll see it down here below. You can also find us on all your favorite podcast apps, Apple Music, Stitcher, Spotify. You name it, we're out there. You can catch these videos on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the notifications so that you get information when we're coming back. Leave a comment, review, reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're out there. We're waiting for those feedback. We're waiting to hear what you guys want to see. I did have a personal message sent from a cousin of my wife's side that she listened to last week's episode, and she was very entertained with the banter and rapport we have together. So, hopefully that's only going to get better next week or 2 weeks from now when we get back to movies that we're actually wanting to watch. And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, you can catch us on all those spots. Let me read that real quick to you. She goes, "So I'm taking my first listen, actually watch on YouTube of your podcast. I'm smiling during the whole thing. Love your banter. So funny. Episode 7. Who's your co-host? You guys have great rapport." So thank you, Tiffany. So if you're listening to this episode, Tiffany, thank you for that feedback. We love feedback from our listeners. We would love more feedback from our listeners. So don't hesitate. Hit us up on social media. Leave a comment on YouTube. Leave us a review. And rate us. Please rate us on your podcast app. So the more feedback we get, we're going to be doing this anyway, but the more listeners we get, and it just snowballs into something pretty amazing. So, we love all you guys listening and participating out there, and we hope you keep it up.
Yeah, have a great holiday season, folks. We'll be around with you for one more week this December on another Hallmark movie before we shift gears going into January. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Enjoy your holiday season. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Take care.